In this video, we talk about 7 Social Security mistakes that happen all of the time that cost retirees thousands of dollars. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
For those of you who don't know, I host a Tuesday night live stream, and a lot of what we talk about on the live stream are mistakes that people make and how to undo those mistakes when possible. Sometimes we can help, other times we can't, but it's a great foundation for putting together a list of mistakes people make that they can actually avoid. All right, let's start off with number 7 and work our way down to number 1. Number 7 is not understanding how the earnings test works. If you're working and collecting Social Security, the SSA only allows you to earn so much before you have to give part of your payment back. If this isn't your full retirement age year, that amount is $24,480 per year. Anything above that, you have to give $1 back for every 2 you earn over that number. Once you reach full retirement age, and for most people watching this video, that's age 67, if you were born in 1960 or later, that is, then you can earn as much as you want and you don't have to give anything back. Let's say you're age 64. You retired at age 62, and from that point forward, you started collecting Social Security. If your part-time income is $40,000 a year, you're $15,520 over the limit. Now you have to give back $1 for every $2 over the limit, so that amount is $7,760. In the calendar year that you reach full retirement age, but before full retirement age, then the test gets a lot more friendly. You have to give back $1 for every $3 over the limit, and the limit in your full retirement age year actually goes up at $65,160. Once you reach full retirement age, you can earn as much as you want, and you don't have to give any of it back to the SSA. I suppose they assume that if you're still working after full retirement age, then at some point they need to draw the line. That seems like a good place to draw it. Now, so far, this looks just like a pure penalty. If you had just waited to file for Social Security, you would have gotten a higher payment, and you could work and earn as much as you want. The SSA knows this. The amount that you give back isn't gone. It's just put back into your account, and your payment is recalculated at full retirement age, the age where you can work as much as you want and you don't have to give anything back. Number 6 is mistaking the spousal benefit for the survivor benefit. People do this all of the time. We talk about it all of the time on the live stream. These are 2 different programs with 2 different rule books, and confusing them costs people a lot of money. Let's start off with what the spousal benefit is. It's a payment of up to 50% of the primary earner's Social Security payment at full retirement age. Now, I said up to 50% because it can be less, but it can never go more than 50%. It's at 50% when the spouse files for the spousal benefit at his or her own full retirement age. But if the spouse claims early, assuming that full retirement age is age 67, then the spouse receives 32.5% of the primary insurance amount. Now, the sizing rule, 32.5 to 50%, is based entirely on the age of the spouse when he or she files. It has nothing to do with when the primary insured files. They just need to go first. Going first unlocks the Social Security spousal benefit for the spouse. And one final point on this, there is no benefit whatsoever for the spouse to wait beyond his or her own full retirement age. It doesn't continue to grow like the primary insurance amount. It's capped at 50% and will not grow. Now the survivor benefit. Now this goes to the same person, but it's paid only when their partner passes away. Now when this happens, the survivor can receive up to 100% of the deceased Social Security payment if they filed, or the greater of the primary insurance amount, the amount that they would receive at full retirement age, or the amount that they would receive on their date of passing if it was beyond full retirement age. But there is a caveat. That amount is reduced by the age of the survivor when they file for the benefit. If they file early, then that 100% is reduced based on the survivor's filing age. And again, the survivor can't receive more than 100% of the deceased's actual payment. If the deceased filed late, then they got a larger payment. They can get 100% of that larger payment. And if they filed early, then they get 100% of a smaller payment. But they can't go beyond 100%, and that's at full retirement age of the survivor. Now, how do people trip up on this? Well, they spend most of their time thinking about the 50% of the spousal benefit and very little time thinking about and calculating the survivor benefit. Hold on to this thought because the survivor benefit drives mistake number 2, which we'll talk about in just a couple of minutes. Mistake number 5, assuming every Social Security check is the same size. It's not. The benefit that the primary earner receives is based on their best 35 years of earnings indexed to today's dollars, and that number is divided by 420, which is 35 years times 12 months, 420 months in 35 years. That gives you the average indexed monthly earnings. That's the AIME. It's an important number. But you don't just get that number because it has to be reduced based on the size of the number. People who contributed more to Social Security, who earn more, get proportionally less and less the more they contribute. It's called bend points. Let me explain to you how it works. In 2026, the primary earner gets 90% of the first $1,286 of average monthly earnings, then 32% of the next slice up to $7,749, and 15% of anything above that. Now look at what that formula is doing. Your first dollars of contribution count for a lot. Your last dollars of contribution count for a little. The program is designed to replace more income for lower earners and less income for higher earners. That's what bend points are all about. I call it the great equalizer. Now, two things trip people up here. The first is low or no earning years, and so of those 35 years, some of them are very low. This happens a lot when someone stays home and watches a child or cares for an elder parent or something along those lines where they have to take time out of the workforce and they get zeros for those years. The SSA doesn't just reduce the number, that 420 months number. They still use 420 months, and so when you add it all up, you have a smaller number on top, still being divided by 420 months. The second is what I call the part-time myth. People assume that if they get a part-time job closer to retirement, say in their 60s, that continues to push the number up. It might, but oftentimes it doesn't because people have 35 years, and because everything is indexed into today's dollars, that means that historical earnings that seemed low at the time might still be bigger than your part-time income today. So if you're working part-time just to increase your Social Security payment, you should do the calculation. Gang, Medicare can be confusing. It can be overwhelming. Ask anybody who's age 65 or older, and they'll tell you that this is true. They'll spend hours of time analyzing all of the plans that they can find. They'll pick the plan, and they will make the wrong decision, costing them hundreds if not thousands of dollars a year. Now on this channel we have 3 affiliate relationships. One is our trusted Medicare Partner Chapter. Chapter is the only national advisor that looks at and recommends every plan. They're totally free to you. Your premium isn't different because you use them. They're really nice to work with, and they save their clients an average of $1,100 per year. So if this is of interest to you, give them a call at 440-703-1224 to see if they can help. Mistake number 4, forgetting that the IRS can and often does tax your Social Security payment. For a long time, Social Security wasn't taxed. And to this day, a lot of people think that it still isn't taxed. But after the Social Security amendments in 1983, Social Security became taxable if you earned beyond a certain amount. Let me explain. The IRS uses something called provisional income to determine if your Social Security payment is taxable or not. Provisional income is your adjusted gross income plus any tax-free municipal bond interest plus half of your Social Security benefit, all added together. For a married couple filing jointly, if your provisional income is less than $32,000, your Social Security payment isn't taxable. If it's between $32,000 and $44,000, up to 50% of your Social Security payment is taxable. And beyond $44,000, up to 85% of your Social Security payment is taxable. 50% and 85% isn't the tax you pay on Social Security. That just means that portion of your Social Security payment is considered ordinary income on your tax return, subject to whatever tax rate you're in and the deductions you qualify for. Now for single filers, the provisional income levels are $25,000 and $34,000. If your provisional income is less than $25,000, none of your Social Security payment is taxable. If it's between $25,000 and $34,000, up to 50% of your payment is taxable, and if it's over $34,000, up to 85% of your Social Security payment is taxable. Now, if those numbers seem low to you, they are. The 50% threshold was set in 1983, and then 85% threshold was set in the 90s. That means that your income, if you have an income that represents what people today earn, is probably going to be higher than those levels. So you have to rely on other deductions in order to make a portion of your Social Security payment not taxable. Now, one practical note here, if you pull money from your traditional 401k or IRA, that amount is part of provisional income. If you pull it from your Roth, it's not. This is a big reason why Roth planning is so important in retirement. Mistake number 3, not checking your earnings record with the Social Security Administration. Now, this is the one that I wish everybody would do. Why? Because people make mistakes. Employers in the past make mistakes. Maybe they were honest mistakes, maybe they weren't. I don't know. But there could be a mistake on your historical earnings, and if you check it, then you could correct the mistake, in many cases anyway. But if you never look, then you can't make a correction. Remember the 35 years of earnings history we talked about. Well, if you have a big hole and there wasn't really a big hole there, then all of a sudden you've got a problem because you earned the money, but yet for some reason it didn't show up on your earnings history. Now, there are a lot of reasons why this happened. The big one is that the SSA's technology is a little old. It's getting better, but if your earnings in 1990 were recorded by hand with a pencil or a pen on a piece of paper instead of input into a computer and locked in, then somebody might read 36,000 as 3,600. You just never know. Or you changed your name and it just never got picked up. Or your ex-employer was having a bad year and forgot to make your FICA payment, and so they just didn't report your income that year to the Social Security Administration. There are a lot of reasons why that happens, but the important thing is to identify it. And frankly, some people go their entire lives and never check. But had they checked, they'd find that 1 or 2 years of income weren't reported. It could mean the difference of a few $100s on their Social Security payment per month. The fix is simple, by the way. Go to SSA.gov and pull your My Social Security page. It's your Social Security page. That's why it's called My Social Security page. And look at your earnings history. Eyeball it at first. See if there's anything that just doesn't make sense. And if there is something that doesn't make sense, investigate further. If you do find an error, then let the SSA know and try to provide as much proof as possible. And by the way, I know it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's easier to fix a correction before you file than after. Why is that? Because later it could be a decade later. It could be 2 decades later. The drawer full of W-2s you had in the old house might be in a box somewhere. You just don't know. So check it today. Make sure it looks accurate. Number 2, the one I talked about before. Claiming as 2 individuals instead of claiming as a family unit. Now, there's power in information, and sometimes it makes more sense to claim 2 primary insurance amounts, and sometimes it makes more sense to claim a primary insurance amount and a spousal benefit. A lot of that decision is based on the information you have. But if people automatically default to, I'm going to file for my own primary insurance amount, and he or she is going to file for his or her own primary insurance amount, without analyzing the other option, you could be leaving a lot of money on the table. And back to the survivor benefit we talked about. When one partner passes, the survivor doesn't get both payments. And so if you're optimizing for the survivor benefit, well, that's a different decision, maybe, than optimizing for 2 Social Security payments. So the higher earner's Social Security payment isn't just about what the higher earner earned. I'm not sure I could say that 3 times fast. But it sets the floor for the couple in terms of the higher Social Security payment if someone passes. So here's the coordinated move to think about anyway. Explore this, do your own calculations, but this is something to think about, a way to think about it. With a lot of couples, it pays for the higher earner to wait, sometimes all the way to age 70, where the benefits grow to 120% of the full amount. Meanwhile, the lower earner can often claim earlier, so some income is still coming in the door. And in many cases, the best of both worlds happens in an unfortunate way, and that is the lower earner receives their Social Security payment, and the higher earner locks in the survivor benefit. Compare 2 couples, each with their own Social Security payment, and they both claim at age 62, so they feel a little bit more wealthy at age 62. But the couple who coordinates with the higher earner delaying could leave the survivor with a much larger payment for a decade or longer. Over a full retirement, the coordinated couple often comes out way ahead. Let's put some real numbers on it. Let's say the higher earner's full benefit at age 67 is $2,400. If that higher earner waits until age 70, their payment is $2,976 before cost of living adjustments. Whichever spouse lives longer keeps the higher amount instead of the smaller one. That's roughly $576 every month for the survivor, about $70,000 over a decade. And the big one, mistake number 1, assuming that there are only 2 claiming ages, age 62 and 70, or 3 claiming ages, 62, full retirement age and 70. Now, before we get into anything else, let me make a point, and that is there are 96 claiming ages. Now, why do I say 96? Because every month that you wait after age 62, your Social Security payment goes up a little bit. You've probably heard a confident version of this advice. Take it at age 62 and invest the rest. Let me actually walk you through the numbers. Let's say that your payment at full retirement age is $2,000 a month. Let's assume full retirement age is age 67. That means at age 62, your payment is $1,400 a month. It also means that if you wait to claim until age 70, you get 124% of that $2,000. That's $2,480 a month. That's a swing of over $1,000 a month between the earliest possible claiming age and the latest possible claiming age. By the way, what I'm going to talk about next acknowledges that if you wait and claim, you're going to get larger payments, but you're going to get less of them. And if you claim early, you're going to get more payments, but they're going to be smaller. So let's assume you take it early and invest. What's a safe investment rate? Well, I think 5% is a reasonable rate of return in this day and age. It's safe-ish. It's not safe, but it's safe-ish. The higher the return, the more risk you're taking on, and it sort of defeats the purpose of claiming early if you're going to lose it in the markets, or lose part of it anyway. Now, in order for you to actually benefit from that 5%, you can't spend the money. You can take it and you can invest it, but you can't spend it, which begs the question, what are you going to live on? The second is that when you delay, you get two things. You get the scheduled increases for waiting, but you also get the annual cost of living adjustment applied to those unpaid benefits. And the longer you wait, the bigger the base the COLA adjustment is applied to. Now, if this is all about the money, then there's a break-even calculation, and it's an interesting data point, but a lot of times it's not about the money. Sometimes it's about maximizing the survivor benefit. We talked about that. Sometimes you just need the money on the other end. Life's been hard and you need to take it now because you've got bills to pay and you have no other options. That's not the best reason out there, but it's a good reason for a lot of people. The big mistake is thinking that there are only two choices, early or late. In reality, there are 96 different options, and every one of those options gives you a little bit more every month you wait. If you like this video, check out that video. Here's who gets 2 Social Security raises in a single year. Also, don't forget to give Chapter a call if you have questions about Medicare, 440-703-1224. This is Jeff Schmidt, and I will see you in that video right there.